Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Tribe Podcast. Today's episode is a solo with me, Lucia, and I wanted to talk about some things that I've picked up on or grabbed onto recently that I'm oh, this is a thing, and this has been kind of hidden from us, or they've made us not look at it properly or fear it in a way. And so what I want to talk about is how we need to further connect and start questioning those things that we used to kind of think that were maybe bad, or that things that we should respect that maybe were actually things that we should have dived into. The first thing that I've been seeing a lot lately is the number 6. So the number 666. And a lot of people have that program in their system or in their brain that 666 is actually I don't know, some people will say it's the devil's number, or some people will say it's the elite's number, or some people will say it's those that are in control's number, or it's a bad number, or you want to stay away from that number. And the funny thing is, it's a really important number. And you guys know that Lorena and I have discussed so many times how important the number 3 is. And I further delved into the number 3 quite a few times, especially recently learning about the universe, and you'll see this number pop up like crazy. And so the most important thing that I would have to say, out of all the 3s that I've discovered and learned about recently, the most important thing that I would note for you guys to look at directly is that so everything's programmed. Every single thing is programmed, including before we come here and incarnate. We're also putting programs in for our character traits, for what we're going to be born into, the character that's going to have to play for us, what we're, our mission, all that stuff. Everything's kind of pre-designed, pre-calculated, and there's programs to assist that whole process. And not only that, but even the creation of the soul comes with a program in itself. And depending on what area, your soul was created under, what universe or multiverse, it's dependent on what program has actually been implemented into the creation of that system, which is another thing that I've come to understand, that not every universe functions with the same programs, or actually not every multiverse. And then inside of that, not every universe inside that multiverse functions with the same program. So we are directly being affected. Well, affected is a negative word, isn't it? We're directly being assisted, because actually the program that we have is one of the, if you ask me, out of the programs I've learned about, this is one of the most amazing programs, I think. Maybe that's just because my soul chose it and I'm on board with it, but it's called the Trinity program. And so that's when I heard about it, I'm oh, that's why you'll always see the prayer and Mother, what's it called? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? It's the 3s of that. But supposedly our program is called the Trinity program. And so everything inside of the creation of our universe, and even since we are a complete and utter copy, and we are no creators ourselves, but we're a complete and utter copy of everything that's been helped us be created, and everything around us, we also carry that program. And so when something's created, there needs to be a masculine energy and a feminine energy, and those things coming together create the product of those two merging together. And I'm not talking about a man and a woman. I'm just talking about the energies. We all carry the energies of feminine and masculine. And you'll hear Lorena and I more than once talking about the fact that the feminine energies would help you connect, right, to your higher self. The Akashic Records is a lot of feminine energy. And even if you think about it, even if you just go into this podcast in itself, my energy is masculine. Like I have much more masculine energy. I'm much more, and masculine not because I'm like a man, I don't dress like a man, but masculine because I'm very like warrior type. I'm very like go get it. I'm very like not going to take it if I don't have to. Like that's all that is very masculine, like protector energy, warrior energy, activation, action, right? Like the action. It reminds me of like the wands in tarot, right? So it's like the action, that's like the masculine energy. But then you have that feminine energy, which I would associate more with like probably like water, like it's more emotional, it's more connected, it's more connected to, it's like learning, like knowing, centering yourself more. So, I mean, Lorena's more of an empath. And I'm much more of like a visionary, like I see even when I do readings, I'm more masculine. And when Lorena does reading, she's much more with the emotional. And let's go to like how that affected you since it was maybe it's coming from your childhood. And she'll go and get to that much more than I do as a reader. So her energy is much more feminine. And together, our energies came together to create this podcast. So that's just a really simple, small example of how everything is in our universe. To create, there has to be a perfect alignment and mesh of those two. So that's 3. It's the feminine, it's the masculine, and then it's the third component, which is the product that comes out of those two merging together. So it was my masculine energy, Lorena's feminine energy merging together in balance. And that came through. And then what came through was the product, which is the podcast. So it's the third thing. And so that's the Trinity, and that's our Trinity program. And every time you want to create something, there's got to be a balance so that that creation can come into play. And we've been hidden, like this whole thing, like we've been hidden our creator energy. Like this is something a lot of people that manifest will talk about. People that are like really dived into the manifestation thing, they'll tell you that we are creators and that so a lot of us haven't figured out yet that we can create our own reality, that we can create what we want. And so that comes from the Trinity program that is incorporated inside of all of our systems. Everyone that's incarnated right now on Earth, we all have it. Even if you're someone that's vibrating in a really low density, even if you're someone that hasn't figured it out, heard it, or is like even open to it, it doesn't matter. You still have it in your system. It's part of your program. You're here. It's part of your program. It's like in our DNA. It's in our cellular memory. It's in even in our soul's program. It's bringing in. It's everywhere. And so the numbers would be 3 and 6 and then 9. So these are the 3 versions, right? 3, 6, and 9. Those are the 3 versions. So you got 3, and then you got 3 3s, 3 different kinds of 3s, right? And so 6 is a really important number because it's the duplication of that 3, right? And then we're told that the number 666 is bad, it's negative. Actually, like when you look at angel numbers, right? Like this, you're like, oh, I'm constantly seeing the number 111, 222, 333, 444, all this stuff. Like everyone's seeing them all over the place. It's the universe speaking to you. There's something it's trying to say to you. But specifically when the number 666 comes up, people don't want to see it because they think, oh, it's really bad. No, like you're associating with this program. And what we've been taught, whether it be, I'm assuming most of that belief system in the human collective, I'm assuming it's mostly coming from religion. I'm assuming because it depends on who we're speaking to. Like if it's someone that's in a country where religion never played a part and they still have that anyways. But I have to say that for the human collective, it actually did come. It's very awake. It's very it's very affecting a lot of people. It's very there because it was generated from the religious belief system. And so the whole idea there's a bunch of things inside of the religious belief system where like it's limiting. It's totally, completely limiting. And so that them teaching you that 666 is the devil's number, they're trying to actually make you believe that it's the devil's number when actually it's the first replica of the Holy Trinity. And then if you're getting the angel number 666, guys, don't open the door and run away because actually what's really happening is it's the universe telling you that you are aligned, but you're not only that, you're ready to anchor down all those lessons and wisdom that you just managed to like incorporate into your life. So maybe you went through a really tough time. Maybe you just like went through like the end of a job, the end of an era, the end of a relationship. Maybe like you feel like the sky is falling on you, and then you see 666 and you go, oh no, this is really bad. Actually, what the universe is telling you is you just went through a really important process of wisdom and learning, and that's going to turn into expansion, right? And so what they're saying is anchor it down, bring it down to earth, leave it here. It was part of an experience you had here, leave it behind, anchor it down into the universe, anchor it down so it can turn into the expansive wisdom that your soul has had on earth. But also now align yourself. Now you know that it wasn't something that should have happened. It's something that happened and it was part of some sort of lesson experience your soul had to have. So a really big part of that is also 666 really is about also you starting to realize who you are and where you really come from. So it's like, I'm bigger than myself. And when this number shows up, it's not for me to run away because I'm doing things bad. It's telling me, remember that you signed up for this, and now you can anchor it into the universe and give it to them. And now you can, it's like honor the lesson and say, it was rough and I rode that wave and I brought in everything I had to with that, and now I can let it go. I like saying give it to Gaia, but what they're saying is like just release it and give in to it and go, that's it. I have that lesson. I finished riding that wave, or I'm like literally in the end of it. And I'm going to allow myself to turn that into wisdom and expansion. So, I mean, that number 6 can show up in the repetition angel number 666 can show up like at the end of really big tests, really big struggles, if you want to call it, instead of tests, really big struggles. And it's something that you need to like pat yourself on the back and say, you know what, good job. Like in my case, it would be like, well, good job, Lucia. Like that number comes up and it reminds me, oh my God, you just rode that wave and you rode it as best you could. And I love it because the Akashic Records always tell me this, and like it sticks with me like forever. It's you did the best you could with what you had. And this is how I was like taught to like deal with when someone next to me or around me was like treating me a certain way or saying something to me that was like really making me upset, or, even just, I don't know, like not being that support system I needed. And what I was told by the Akashic Records was just saying to myself, that person did the best they could with what they had. Like they cannot do better than that. And so like accepting that, and then that number can show up for you after that. And you dealt with it as best you could with what you had at the time. And now that wave is over. And now anchor it down and release it. And, earth, like the earth waves, where the tidal wave comes in, and then the waves come back and it goes back into the ocean, and the wave comes in again. That's the way life is supposed to be. We're not supposed to be like an up, 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 up. We're like, you're manifesting and it's amazing and everything's going amazing. And you're not supposed to be like that, because if not, it's just all gain and no learning. You're supposed to do that wave where it's like ups and downs and like, something really good comes and then there's like a struggle and you deal with it. But then something really good comes and then another struggle might come. Like you have to honor those processes. And this is like what Lorraine and I always talk about, like the onion, right? Like the onion layers, where like the Akashic Records always say, yeah, of course you're not done, because you deal with one onion layer, like, wow, that was rough. Like, ugh. And then you get through it, and then under that there's something else, and then under that there's something else. Like we're clearing out a lot of stuff. And we keep talking in the podcast and in the Patreon about like 3D and 5D. It's like 3D is literally, you got to shed everything. If you want to go into 5D, you got to shed all this stuff that's weighing you down 3D. If you allow them to continue with you and you don't do the work to let it go, like I was talking about my trip to Norway, there was a lot of letting go. I was ready for my next stage. I had to do a lot of letting go. And that was the perfect time for me to do it. And it was the perfect people to do it with. And my soul was like giving it to me. I mean, guys, it was not easy. Like my soul was giving it to me. And I had to deal with it the best I could. And I patted myself on the back when I ended. I was like, okay, you know what? I dealt with that better than I should have. Like I would have expected to. I would have expected Lucia to do like way worse than that. Like totally and completely freak out. Doesn't mean I didn't cry. Doesn't mean I didn't have like panic attacks. But like what it means is like I dealt with it the best that I could. And those are those like those tests that come in. And the more that you are able to align yourself and not take it personal, I think that's like a thing we all take it personal. Like, why me, universe? Why me? Like, don't take it personal and say, okay, there's something for me to learn here. I was even when I was at the airport in Norway, and I was like, I'm stuck here for a lot of hours and everyone's already home and I'm still here stuck, right? Like, I was like, what is there that I'm supposed to learn here? There's something I'm supposed to learn. Instead of me going into full-blown victim role, I was sitting there going, okay, what do I have to understand from this? What am I supposed to take from this? And I went into also solving. I used a little bit of brain, like problem solving, and then I realized that no matter how much I burned my brain, there was no solution. There was no solution at the time because it was that was going on in the system. I was part of the system at the time. And so sometimes those bumps in the road, they're not made to be solved by your brain. Some of them are, of course, but some of them are not made to be solved by your brain. Some of them is like, you're the surfer on the wave, ride that wave, like ride that wave as best as you can. And when the wave's done, you said, I did it. And like, allow yourself to take a moment and pat yourself on the back and be like, you know what? Good job. And then if that number 6 pops up at the end and the angel number 6 pop at the end, they're letting you know that you rode that wave really well and they were watching you. And when I say they, I'm talking about your masters, your guides. I like to call them your spiritual team, because to me, they're a team of spiritual beings that are here to support you, and we're not fully aware of them, because if we were fully, like, if we had them right here, we could see them, we wouldn't feel alone in the wave. And the whole idea is you're supposed to be dealing with it. Like, there's a moment in time that your soul's feeling separated from source. And if you were, like, let's say the example of me again, like being at the airport and like just maybe like going into semi-victim role and then seeing these beings around me, like being able to connect to the guides to the point where I can fully see them, like there were people sitting in front of me, then I would be like, oh, they're here, I'm fine. And then I wouldn't really go through that the struggle. I wouldn't ride that wave feeling like I'm riding it alone. And so that's the whole reason why we're here. Also, we're supposed to forget, right? The veil that makes us forget, it's because it's this experience we signed up for. And so the only way for us to see past that veil and feel supported, if we cannot see those guides and know that they're 100% there at the moment that's going on, those numbers are the ones that's how they're talking to us, through those numbers. And it's amazing. And another thing I always thought about, like the religion thing, you know, I think religion did do some good on earth at some points, where it's like, it did make us realize that there was something else, and we're not just these pieces of meat. Like, a lot of religions will teach you that there's something else after these pieces of like meat, like our bodies, right? There's something after this. I think that's one good thing that religions brought. So they didn't just bring only bad things. But what always bothered me, when of course, like being a Akashic Records now reader, of course it bothered me. Like, you have to go to church to connect, and there's this one person. Like, I mean, I'm talking in the sense of, like, for example, you know, Catholic or Christian religions that I know, like, about, not too much, but I know about. You'll go to church and you'll have like the pastor, right, talking and kind of giving you speeches and kind of supposedly bringing you in information and wisdom. But if you don't go to church, you're what? Like, I think you were considered like a bad person. I mean, don't quote me on this, because I was never part of a church, so I can't really say for 100%. But from what I've heard from my friends and people that I know, if you didn't go to church, it was like, why didn't you come? And like, you know, have you come to clear your sins yet? Like, maybe you should come clear your sins. Like, I'm like, who are you? Who are you to be the one that says that my sins can be taken away? And why do I have to come here to be doing the right thing and be connecting? And that's where the part for me, religions were always like, no, you can be at your house and be doing the work on your own, which we're here to do things for ourselves as well. And we're here to do the hard work. Like, you cannot get anyone to do that hard work for you. It's like saying, like me at the airport when I was going through that wave, saying, let me bring in someone to sit next to me and accompany me and just like deal with it, like solve all my problems. Then I wouldn't have learned anything. And so this is the same thing. Like, you're supposed to be the one that clears through those onion layers of all your stuff, because that's what brings the wisdom. If you're if you're getting someone else to try to do it for you, then you're just going to have to do it all over again, because what the spiritual team is going to do is go, here, it sounds like you thought you were going to get rid of it doing this over here, and that's somebody else doing the work for you. And no, come over here, sit down with it, and go in, right? So that was something that always bothered me. Like, I don't need someone to tell me that I can be rid of my sins. I'm the only one that can rid myself of my sins and my, and I wouldn't even call them sins, because I think that you did the best you could with what you had. You want to call it sin? Okay, call it sin. But the reality is, if you knew better, you would have done better. If you were aligned more, if you were more centered and more connected with what you really are, who you really are, which is a spiritual being, right? Having this experience, you would have done better. You just weren't there yet, possibly. And so this whole idea of sin, that's what keeps us in 3D. Like all those, well, that's what keeps us in 4D, actually. That's what I was going to say. Like when someone is going to pass away, if they're like being really rough on themselves and they're like, oh, they're feeling really guilty and they're feeling really bad about things they did or they didn't do, they might get stuck. Their soul can't ascend up. They might get stuck here in 4D form, of course, because they're no longer in their physical body. They'll be staying in 4D here, stuck on the earth plane, right? Unable to pass by, because they've now become their own worst enemy, because they cannot let go of what they did. And if they only knew that their spiritual team is okay with it, you did the best you could with what you had, just come up here, let's cleanse this out, let's plan the next new experience for you, and you'll deal with it. And maybe this time you'll deal with it better. Like, right? Like the repeating of the lessons again, in a way. So no one else can tell you you're rid of your sins. You're the one that's supposed to leave this incarnation, say, you know what? Good job, Lucia. And I know I should have done that better, but that's okay. I did the best I could with what I had. And I forgive myself and I love myself. No matter what happened, I love myself, because in the end, I didn't really mean to do those things. Now that I'm awake and now that I see it, and now that I have another perspective, I realize that I could have done better. And I still love myself, because if you don't love yourself, even after realizing your mistakes, if you don't love yourself, then you're still in sin. You're sinning yourself now. You're giving it to yourself now. And guess what? Your spiritual team doesn't want that, and Source doesn't want that either. What they want is for you to just live unconditional love for yourself and others. But we're just not there yet. As a human collective, we're not there yet. Because when you're in the duality program that is this world and that is this 3D, it's really hard to constantly live in like unconditional love. Like imagine you being able to forgive yourself quickly and others being able to forgive yourself quickly. There would be a constant cycling of giving yourself second chances and doing better next time. And it would be a totally different world. People wouldn't be fighting with each other for 50 million years or whatever. That doesn't mean that you have to hang out with everyone all the time. Like, we also know that we're coming into a new version of reality for many of us, which is 5D, which means that some of those people won't vibrate with you anymore. That doesn't mean you're in a fight with them. That doesn't mean you forgive them. It just means that you've moved on from that. And maybe they're not there where you're going right now. And that's okay. So I think, like, when I think back to that and the religion, the sin thing is one of those. Of course, the 666 thing is the other one. But at the same time, like, you need to go to church to connect? Nah, man, I'm an Akashic Records reader. I can do it from my house. And in my pajamas, by the way. Like, you know what? So, and that's something that I know everyone that's listening to this podcast, you guys already know that. Because, I mean, if you're listening to this kind of information, you already know that. Or you're prepared for that. Or you're trying to get there. But you know that that can be a thing. And that's reality. You no longer need someone to be your middleman. Which is why, like, that whole other episode we did with Lorraine about, like, learning to read your own Akashic Records and what the Akashic Records could bring into your life, because you don't have to get someone to constantly receive messages for you unless you want to, and that's okay, because also our ego's in the middle, and sometimes we need someone neutral to come in and give us the information. But know that you can try and do it for yourself, and you can be a reader yourself, and you can start training yourself to connect for yourself, and it's a beautiful thing. And even I, being an Akashic Record reader for now 13 years, I as well go get tarot readings and psychic readings and medium readings and Akashic Records reading from other people, because it's really nice to have someone sit in front of you and tell you and confirm things that you already know. it's almost like a little push. It's almost like a little push from the back. Like, come on, you got this, Lucia. You know exactly what you're doing. You were right. You were feeling that, or you're okay to feel that way. You're right to feel that way. And this is what was happening. They're just confirmations. And this happens to even people that don't open their own Akashic records yet. I'll have so many people come to readings for me, and at some point we'll go through a subject and they'll be like, I mean, you're just confirming what I already knew. And like, that's almost everybody. When they get readings, most of the time those readings are just the reader confirming to the person something they already felt and knew. So that goes to show you that we are already connected and we don't need a middleman to figure it out. Maybe we just need a little bit of a support system to kind of like push us forward, and that's okay. But you don't have to follow a religion for you to feel like you're worthy of connecting to that. And you don't have to go into church every certain day, like every Sunday, because if not, you're in sin, or you're being, you're being unaligned with the church and its belief system, like whatever. That's out the window. We're going to the era 5D. And the era 5D is you are your own creator, you are your own reality maker, and you are your own boss. Like, you can decide what's worthy of your life and what's not worthy of life. You can decide what kind of reality you're going to align yourself with, and you're going to try to create that. And you're going to say, I'm not up for this anymore. Goodbye. It's up to you now. It's the 3D way is the old way, and the 5D way is the new way. So you have to decide that. Like, it has to come from inside your heart. Because if you're like saying, yeah, I'm going to just repeat it and I don't feel it, then it's not going to be, you're not there yet. You have to feel it. You have to, like, in your heart, you have to know it. And you're like, decree it to the universe, demand it to the universe, say it to yourself. Like, nah, I'm not accepting being pushed around anymore. I'm not accepting anymore being controlled anymore. I'm not accepting being told how I have to do things anymore, how I have to live. Because, and then live, I'm talking about like anything from like, I have to do this to make ends meet. I have to do this to sustain my family. I have to do this because if not, this other bad thing's going to happen over here. Like, those programs are the old programs. We can now decide for ourselves what programs we're going to start running. And that's why the Akashic Records for the past 2 years, I think this is the reason why they've been saying, we're going to go into new communities of people that have like-minded visions and dreams of creating a world just like the one that person's envisioning. And many of those are off-grid, self-sustainable. Like, we are feeling that we're done with the system. And that's a very natural part of that process of letting go of 3D. But it's a little difficult sometimes because it means you have to let go of things that were your security blanket, things that were making you feel safe. And that's part of the game. It's like, you got to start like going with that security blanket, because maybe behind that, there's something greater. Maybe that security blanket, yeah, maybe it's keeping you semi-secure, but it might also have been limiting you this whole time. And you won't find that out till you take the leap. And that doesn't mean the leap is going to be like, boom, I'm manifesting it in 2 seconds and it's amazing because I made the decision. Maybe for some it will. But that leap might be you like really showing their universe via your actions, this is really what I want. And I'm willing to put the work into, like, to learn to do this thing. Or I'm willing to look into finding a community that vibrates with me. Going and finding people that want to create a project like I do. Things like that. Like, you might have to do some work behind that. It's not just like I leap it and I say it and it's done. But know that once you're aligning with that and you've decided it, that's part of it. That's part of the beginning of your process of that new reality and that new creation you want to bring into like your life. And for me, a lot of that is we depend on ourselves. And when I say ourselves, for me, it's not just like only me, like Lucia is in charge of everything of her life. Ourselves, for me, is with that like-minded community. Let's talk about, for example, you decided you got a plot of land and maybe you did it with other people. There's already groups of people that are getting plot of lands with other groups of people. They're putting up, I don't know, like homes that could be considered movable home structures or tiny houses or something. I don't know. But like these projects, it's like you depend on yourself. It's you and your community though. Your community, everyone pitches in and does something. And that's already existing in our world. That's already something that's happening. It's not this massive movement yet. But it's the future for a lot of people because it's what a lot of people want. It's what a lot of people vibrate with. So I think the most important thing is we have to start leaving behind all those belief systems that might have limited us. That's why I brought up the 6. That's why I brought up like the connecting and the sinning. And those are all belief systems that were put in place to limit us. But if you are deciding, I'm no longer going to be part of that 3D, and if you decide to be part of 3D, that's okay. There's actually quite a few individuals and souls who signed up for 3D and actually came here to live the whole lifetime of 3D, and they want that because they're experiencing it, and there's a lot of lessons they want to have, and that's okay. But the grand majority of us are looking for spiritual information, that are looking to connect for ourselves, that are looking for a better reality. The majority of us are feeling that pull and feeling to walk towards that because we are part of the 5D movement. I mean, they've been talking about this for so long. If you go to really well-known like individuals like Dolores Cannon, where she was talking about the New Earth, I mean, back then, it's so long ago, she was so ahead of her time because she was able to already connect with the subconscious information of the souls of, what's going to be coming for Earth. And so this was something that was a plan for a long time. This isn't something that's like, brand new. So when you find that you're feeling a pull towards something, you got to try and honor it. Don't like write it off and say, oh, I'm crazy. Or no, Lucia, that's impossible. Don't dream about that. Or no, Lucia, why would you do that? What are people going to think about you? Like, whatever it is that you're feeling pull towards, honor it, respect it, and know that there's probably something there. Maybe that's not the end all result. Maybe that's just one step that you need to take, and then that might lead you down another road, which we've talked about this with manifesting. Sometimes one thing is just the beginning of something else that's bigger. So just take those breadcrumbs, it's like the breadcrumbs, right? Just take those breadcrumbs and follow the breadcrumbs and see where that leads you, but honor yourself and love yourself and say, well, I'm going to go down that path and I'm feeling that, and I'm done caring about what my family might think about me, that I'm insane. My friends might think about me that I'm insane. My community, my current community that might think that I'm insane. It doesn't matter anymore. We're in an era where that does not matter anymore. What society thinks about you, what society sees when they see you, that doesn't matter anymore. I'm thinking about the meme. I saw this meme once on Instagram. What was it? What someone thinks about me is none of my business. And I love that because it's true. What other people think about me is none of my business. They can think whatever they want. It doesn't affect me. I am still me. I'm still going to continue to be me, right? So my biggest message, my most important message, I think, would be honor what you feel. Go towards that path that you're feeling, but at the same time, when the universe throws you a number, none of those numbers are negative numbers. None of those numbers. Not 111, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, none of those numbers are bad. So allow yourself to be like, I do this. When I see those numbers, I go, oh, universe, I know you're listening, okay. And I'll see what it means to me. I know that there's people that believe that this number is going to mean just this, and this number is going to be just that. And I do think that the universe uses meanings towards numbers. I definitely do. But I also believe that sometimes they're going to grasp onto whatever number they can throw at you that's a repetition, like angel number, so that you can feel accompanied. So sometimes it's just the message behind the repetition that's like, we're here, we're listening to you. Other times it is a massive message going on behind that number. So whatever you think it is at the time, that's probably what it is. And I always tell people, like, if you want to like create your own numbers, I have this one number, which I'm not going to share because it's like a very personal number, but I have this one number that's one of my favorite numbers, and it has 3 digits, and it's not a repetition number. It's not like the same digit. And it's a number that has nothing to do with angel numbers, but for me, it has a meaning. And when I'm going through moments where I'm like, and I see that number like all the time. So this isn't a number that like the angels kind of designed and said, this is the number we're going to send to humans when they're doing this or this is happening. This is my personal number. So you might have your own personal numbers. Let's say that someone, for someone, the number 123 is something, right? Or 321 is something. Like, just to them, that number means something. The consecutiveness of something has a meaning behind it for them. Well, then that's true to you, and that use that number to receive the information and the messages from them. And they know that. They know you. Our spiritual team knows us better than we know ourselves. So if we have a number that we love, that's in our head, that we just adore that number, they're going to use it to be like, hello, Lucia, look over here. Hello, Lucia, we're listening. Oh, Lucia, yeah, we heard what you just said. Or we're watching what you're doing and we think you're doing a good job. Here's that number that you love. So you can also design numbers for yourself. And I would even take it a step further if you guys really wanted to, like, dive into it. And if you guys really wanted to, for example, create your own dictionary. And I've said this before, write down a dictionary and say, okay, from now on, these digits in a row mean this to me, and this in a row. And then you're now creating a language with your spiritual team, and your spiritual team is going to jot that down from their side and be like, okay, this is what Lucia thinks this number means now, and this is what she thinks that number means now. And they'll try to use that dictionary with you. Just once you write it down, accept it, take it in as true, and then let them push that number from their side so you can confirm those things for yourself. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I was really hoping to help people let go of those limiting, possibly beliefs or religious beliefs, and to help you guys kind of start listening to the universe when they speak to you. Like, the universe is talking to you. Are you listening? And I always say, like, the universe doesn't listen to what you, because the universe is talking and we should be listening, but the universe doesn't listen to what you say. It watches what you do. So make sure that your words, for example, you say, I'm done with 3D. I'm no longer doing it. Okay, what actions are you taking? Are you showing the universe that you're really done with 3D? What actions are you taking to show the universe that? So remember that you need to listen to the universe, but you need to show the universe what you really mean. Like, you mean business, and I'm going to show you I mean business. So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode, and I hope that it helped you guys begin to align more or create a better connection with your spiritual team. Maybe it helps you ride your waves better. Those waves that we all have in our life, we're always going to have ups and downs no matter what. No matter how aligned you are on your path. We're humans and we're here to have ups and downs. That's not going to go away because you're in 5D. It's going to be different lessons probably, or different ways of having those lessons, and you're going to be dealing with them better probably because you're in 5D, but we're going to continue to have those ups and downs. So love yourself, forgive yourself. You can release yourself of sins. Like, everyone tonight, go to sleep and release yourself of sins, whether it's guilt, whether it's feeling like you're not enough, whether it's feeling like you could have done better, whether it's feeling like you did the wrong thing. Let it go. It's the past. Leave it in the past. You're done. Because anything that you're holding on to that's coming from the past is actually still your present, and it's continuing to limit you. And so let that go. It's done. There's no changing it. It's an action that's already been done. And know that by you right now, letting go of that, since everything's happening in the here and the now, every moment, because linear time is for us only, by you letting that go, you're letting it just disappear from reality completely. So just let it go. I love you guys, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.